I'm Travis Sliger with Forever Metal Roofing, and I'm tuned in to Only Roofers Podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Only Roofers Podcast. I'm Vince. My co-host, Liz, is not here today, so we will do it without her. I'm here with Travis from Forever Roofing.
Forever Metal Roofing.
Forever Metal Roofing, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
So, Travis, tell us a little about yourself.
I'm 35 years old. I started in this industry roughly close to 10 years ago. I was a salesman, believe it or not. Got into the business. My background, my education's in marketing and advertising.
Nice.
So when I got into the sales, my local market, it seemed like all of the competitors, plus the company I was working with, were doing things the same way. A lot of misleading information, a lot of pressure, sales tactics, not enough educating, not enough delivering on the back end. So, about 4 years ago, I just said, heck with it, and I'm gonna, there's a market for guys who want to do things the right way. So I jumped into it, and we've had success over the last.
So let's talk about that transition, because it happens a lot in the industry, right?
Oh,
a lot
sales
of
to
top sales
guy,
or sales guys just, I can do this by myself.
Very common.
Very, very common.
Yep.
So let's talk about two things. One, I think the first thing is that transfer, right? That change. What was that like?
At first, it was, obviously, sales are going to drive the company.
Correct.
Revenue is going to drive the company.
Right.
So that portion was easy. The hard portion was learning a lot of the production, the install, developing the relationships with good installers.
The deliverables.
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of, finding the right people that fit within your company culture, finding the hard workers. If you're a company that wants to run on, good ethical principles, to find those people at first, that was the hardest part. It was the fulfillment side of, the sales.
So how did you traverse that whole system? Did you hire someone to consult? Did you just go about it yourself?
Trial and error.
Okay.
A lot of it, we've been really successful with it because if you really are a person who tries to operate with integrity, the people who have integrity on, the installers, they're going to gravitate towards you.
Right.
You're going to start building that relationship slowly with that person. Hey, when I, for instance, when I go out and we do primarily subcontract, and we don't try to hide from it. We don't try to, make anybody feel dirty for doing an in-house thing or whatnot. In our market, subcontracting works well.
Okay.
It's almost like we have an in-house crew. The same crew for the last 3 years has been installing all of our roofs. So they're essentially employees.
Can I ask you why you don't switch then?
Say what?
Why don't you switch then? If you can keep them busy, doesn't it?
Yeah, we can keep them busy. It's they just don't want to. They want to stay that way, and we're just trying to keep everybody happy. And it's really synergistic the way that we work right now.
Right.
So it's like if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Fair.
I've thought in the past, let's get our costs down.
Right.
Things of that nature. But a lot of that cost is offset in the end when you look at if you have turnover. Like if you do have turnover, the subcontractors, we find out they're making enough money to be happy to be on the roof. Whereas in the in-house, when we talk to them, we have open discussion about bringing them in-house. It was, hey, these guys, they're just not, I'm just not going to get motivated to do it for this kind of pay.
Do you, as a brand and marketing guy from the field, now owning a company, being a sub company kind of, right, do you make them wear your brand?
We ask them to. It's all part of, we have a agreement that we have in place that's drafted up by an attorney. Insurance companies, we require them to carry, certain amounts of insurance, liability, workers' compensation, and we ask them to wear our logos and whatnot. And we don't make them do it, but they do. So they're happy.
So it's kind of a hybrid.
It really
system.
is. You get into this conversation with other people from other, regions, and they. People have an opinion one way or the other. But
yeah, and
it works for us.
And I think for some regions you have to go W-2. It just makes more liability sense, financial sense.
We have employees, so everything, and we have, all of our overhead, our payroll in-house is W-2. It's all done the way that anybody else would do. Only production.
Only production is.
And we have a production manager.
Right.
So we have a guy that our salesmen aren't managing each job. We have a guy that we carry insurance, workers' comp. He's on the roofs. He's helping prep roofs. He was an installer for us.
Gotcha.
So it is a hybrid approach, and it works. Like I said, It's really synergistic. It's not broken. And at the end of the day, we have a great reputation in our marketplace with the customer. And
that's what
it's all about.
No, 100%.
And they're happy. We're delivering on what we promise. And, why change it?
Well, don't fix what's not
Yeah.
ain't broken, right?
Yeah.
So let's get into a little bit about what you guys specialize in, metal roofing.
Yep.
Residential, retail,
Residential,
metal
retail.
roofing.
Yep.
So it's a kind of a niche, maybe not in your market. I'm in South Florida, so
yeah, it's a niche.
right.
Yeah,
it's definitely a niche,
it's a growing niche,
especially sticking to retail, residential. Metal roofing's pretty big in commercial, but residential. Let's hear about that and why you chose that niche.
Because that was the company that I started with. They were a metal roofing contractor. They had kind of gotten into it right at the beginning, so there was just this big wave. It's all about finding the wave before it starts and then riding it out. So that's how I got into it. In our market, I mean, metal overall, I don't even think metal is quite to 20% of the market yet. So it's still growing,
right.
And it's, to us, we look at it as shingles. We look at shingles as more of an outdated technology. It's not going to last as long as metal if you're using the right substrates, the right paint. We're going to be able to give fairly confidently guarantee that roof for 40, 50 years to the customer. So we just operate on that. Yeah, it's, we're going to be more expensive. I think the way that we advertise, the customers kind of know that, so we get a highly qualified customer right off the bat.
But let's delve into that a little bit because, a lot of guys want to sell a higher ticket item.
Sure.
They don't know how to go about it. They don't really, it's not their forte. Sometimes they feel easier getting that, let's just call it low-laying fruit.
Yeah.
It's
like a race but that becomes a race to the bottom.
Right, 100%.
Yeah.
So let's talk about selling that higher ticket item to a
Yeah.
residential retail customer.
Yeah. So
your
with us,
experiences, your
it's
tips.
all about creating value, right? It's like you're creating value. You're showing the customer, why this is going to make them put more money in their pockets over time. So anytime you can do that in any investment strategy, you show someone how they can save tens of thousands of dollars over a 30, 40-year time period.
Right.
You're building the value, and they're going to see that, and they're going to be willing to spend more money on that. Also, you're obviously building value in your company, so you've got to do things the right way. You have to have the online reputation, and also we brand the heck out of our company. So we're a lot of traditional marketing. We're doing direct mail, a lot of television advertising, as well as our digital. So we're, omni-channel presence.
Got you.
So we're all over the place. We're at the end of the day, we're a roofing company. We're a metal roofing company, but we really are a marketing and advertising company. And I'd look to all roofers to consider themselves that or try to get to that, because that's what's going to grow your company.
100%.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
it's a race to the bottom.
I totally agree with you. I think that you have to really figure out how to brand yourself. A lot of time, back in the day, I think companies would push brand, right? Like Coca-Cola doesn't ever talk about price. They just put a big Coke label on everything, right?
And it works.
And it works. But the problem is you don't get instant results.
Sure.
Right?
It's a long-term investment.
Exactly.
It's like SEO.
Yeah, and even the SEO is changing. You know what I'm saying? Like those are constantly changing, but brand doesn't change. How you execute brand is what's changing, but brand doesn't change, right? So how you get it out there, is it a billboard, is it a TV ad, or is it an SEO, whatever it may be. But let's talk about, because as a sales guy, right, because you were a sales guy for a company, you were a free agent, and another company came and offered you more money, you would have moved on most likely, right? So let's talk about going from that mindset of branding Travis to branding company, right? Because there's a lot of guys that are out on the door-to-door knock right now, or doing marketing digitally and so on, and they want to make that switch. What was that switch in mindset-wise?
It was really just looking at the companies that were successful in branding the company. It's a lot of it, at first guys are going to think about social media, and that helps with your branding, but we really started to see success from when we started to think bigger. Okay. So you're going to have that fear, that upfront fear of, oh my gosh, television commercials, we're running a Super Bowl commercial. So
locally?
Local, huge Super Bowl commercial. No, not a reason, no. It was still expensive.
I don't know if y'all know, we're talking some big boys over
here. Just for our 30-second spot, it's $8,000 for that, but we're spending, $30,000 to $50,000 on a package.
Right, no, 100%.
For everything else, so that's scary.
Yeah.
But when we decided to leap and do that, the return was insane. Just people trust the television.
Most eyes you're going to get in your commercial for sure. You guaranteed.
They trust who's on the television, whether that's they showed or not. That's
right.
It just is what it is. The mindset was, it was just bigger because the company, we had more than double year-over-year growth in terms of revenue. So then we started from
double the risk.
Yeah. So then we started to see, we had 25% growth over the next year. So we noticed we had more of a plateauing effect.
Right.
So it was, what do we got to do to really get that impact? Because we've done everything on digital. I started the company
and you can't stop those.
It has to be continued.
You got them, they're running. Yeah.
And then there's always a guy that's hungry.
Correct.
That's popping up.
Correct.
That's going to be getting more Google reviews, and Google's going to reward that person more than you on organic search. It's constant effort, and if you really want to be in it to win it, you've got to.
It's everywhere. You got to be everywhere.
You have to be everywhere.
You think TikTok's for children, and next thing you know, their mothers and fathers are watching it.
Right now, we're running ads on TikTok. So
you can't be naive to it. Whatever views you have on it, you want it, your daughter's, your kid on it. But if people are there and there's eyes there, you got to be there, right?
Yep.
And if it's cheaper, right? Super Bowl commercials are great and amazing.
Yeah.
They're expensive, but it's because you have guaranteed eyes watching
Just
that game.
the ad that we've ran through the playoffs, we've generated over 600 qualified leads.
That's amazing.
In 2 weeks.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So would you spend $30,000 to $50,000 to acquire 600 customers or an opportunity at 600 customers? If you say no, you should rethink things. Yeah.
No, 100%.
So, that's going to turn into, at minimum, $2 to $3 million in revenue for us.
Exactly.
We had $20,000 average ticket. So.
That's amazing. So we're early on in 2022. We talked about marketing. We talked about the changeover. Let's talk about what you think the pivot, the change, the micro change, whatever it may be for you guys and the industry in general, of where companies on the other side of there should be looking to go.
So with us, I try to be as forward-thinking as I possibly can. I talked about catching a wave, riding the wave. For me, we're going to look at complete automation of our processes, our sales process.
Robot employees.
Essentially just, at first it's going to be a hybrid approach because we've surveyed customers and they said, yeah, I'd love to be able to get a quote and buy my roof from your website, but we'd also like to have someone come sit down and answer our questions.
Right.
So it's utilizing technology, automation software, solar. We're going to launch a solar division in March because solar's coming, whether you agree with it, whatever your political.
Yeah, we're still very early. I know solar as a concept has been around, I think, as a real serviceable product that's viable for the retail customer. It's now real. I heard numbers recently that saturation, we're at like 2%.
It's nothing.
In America, and we probably within the next 2 to 3 years can get to 10 to 15%.
Yeah, and just think about that opportunity for everybody. That 8% right there, that 7 to 8%.
California, it's the biggest, right? Like the biggest state for solar, and they're at a 5%.
Yeah, and there's states that are, very, even better candidates for solar than California. So, like Indiana, we're from Indiana. Our state, believe it or not, is a better candidate than Florida.
Than Florida?
So, yeah.
I'm from Florida.
Yeah,
that was
just
depressing.
Learning some things.
That was depressing.
But back to your question was, so we're getting into the solar. Also, we're going to start looking at adding like blockchain security to our websites, and we're going to start accepting cryptocurrency as payment. So like, Bitcoin, Ethereum, things like that. It's just, these are emerging technologies. They look like powerhouses that are on their way and immovable, we just feel like it's coming.
Fair.
And we need to be there early.
Fair.
And
how do you equate the changes in the crypto market on a price?
It's volatile, but over time, it's up.
So if I was to buy a roof from you with crypto,
I'm going to make more money than what I would have off the U.S. dollar.
So you're thinking
U.S. dollar for me it's a declining.
Fair, and without getting too deep down that rabbit hole.
Right.
But more a question of, because crypto's at 60, let's just say Bitcoin, for example, is at 65 today, and 2 weeks later it's at 36.
Yeah.
You accepted it at 36, and you got it now it's at 65. Great, wonderful, you doubled. But let's say you took it at 65, and now it's 36. What are you doing?
Sure. Yeah, you've lost. So
how are you equating to that?
The idea there is the fact that we're not there yet to where 100% of all of our sales and our revenue is going to come from cryptocurrency. It's going to be a little bit. We feel like, it's not going to be a devastating effect. And it's not like something, you can try something and it not work.
Right.
You're not obligated to continue doing that thing. So you can stop
100%.
if it doesn't work. But with us, And for me, it's more of just, adoption is what's going to drive the price of cryptocurrency over time, and looking at the overall price trajectory. It's extremely volatile in the short term, but long term.
Right, no, 100%. Do you think it's also a little bit to get back to brand as well? Do you think putting out things like that, even if it maybe no one actually ever executes,
it's going to open us up to a much younger audience.
Right. Maybe may ever actually successfully no one really would ever, let's say, pay for the roof in crypto, but like the idea of it, wow, that's cool. That's really cool. Let me call these guys out. They're fresh, they're new, they're cool.
Yeah, so like our ideal customer right now, being a niche product, a higher end product, is people who are 50 to 65 years old, 700 plus credit score, 750 plus credit score, home value plus $250,000, annual household income over, to 150,000 plus. So that's going to open us up to a lot of the younger people that are homeowners.
Right.
So they'll look at that. It'll catch their attention.
Exactly. Yeah. Even if it's not the thing that gets the deal done, it's an attention getter.
And this is just one of the things that we're looking at doing. So, like I said, it's not something. It's never going to get to be a situation where someone's going to come and say, "Hey, I want to buy my whole entire roof in Bitcoin."
Exactly.
And if they did in Bitcoin, I'd take it.
Right, 100%. So Travis, I really appreciate you coming on
thanks for having me
podcast, and catch you guys on the next one.
Awesome.